Okay, here's the bike in question. But before we get to the bike, I will explain the circumstances of how my bike came to be ruined. I am a beer vendor in Chicago, mostly at Wrigley Field. Last week, I worked at the Phish concert. There's actually two Phish concerts. Northerly Island in Chicago. And Friday night, the first night of the engagement, big storm hit with lightning and thunder, and they shut the show down early. And basically shuttled 30,000 mainly intoxicated fans off of Northerly Island. And in the course of our departure, I noticed a highly intoxicated man sort of staggering along the edge of the pier at Burnham Harbor. I watched him for a couple minutes, and at some point he started to teeter, and he fell in, panicked, bent over, reached over the pier, tried to get him to grab my arm. The drop was too high, he couldn't reach me, he's panicking, people are coming around trying to grab him, nobody can reach him. So at one point we decide to dangle my bicycle off the edge of the pier to try to fish him out. This is a 200-pound guy submerged in water. It didn't work, but eventually we were able to sort of guide him. He held onto one wheel of the bike, and we guided him along the pier to a lower pier where he was able to, with the help of several people, pull himself out. As soon as I got my bike, I realized something was wrong with it. The fork was shoved into the wheel, and couldn't ride it, couldn't even roll it. Took it into the bike store yesterday, found out that it was a total loss. You're going to have to look closely because the damage is actually barely perceptible. It's almost kind of unbelievable that such a small or minor looking piece of damage could render a bike completely useless. But if I zoom in here, right to the left of the Prestige logo, you can see a sort of crescent of light that's reflected. It's right above the brake cable, about 2 inches to the left of the logo, and what that crescent is a slight buckle in the frame, which I thought was no big deal. I didn't even notice it at first, but I took it into the bike store yesterday. Guy was going to replace my fork, which was also badly damaged, but luckily, that's like a $50, $75 repair, no big deal. And then he called me back a few minutes later and said, "You know what, buddy? This bike is destined for the garbage dump, because anytime the structural integrity of a frame is compromised, even slightly, it renders it basically unsafe. If I were to hit a pothole or a curb, that little buckle, that little crescent half moon of light that you can see just above the brake cable, essentially would put me at risk of the frame just crumpling like a car in a head-on collision." So the guy wouldn't work on it because he said it would just be unsafe. He couldn't put me back out on this bike, so it's a complete loss basically. So I was a good Samaritan. I sort of went on instinct and did what I thought had to be done, and unfortunately came out on the wrong end with this busted bike, which I do use to commute to work every single day, 365 days a year in Chicago, rain or shine. And thanks for watching.